Welcome back, dear friends, to our sanctuary of the hidden and the profound. Tonight, we are leaving the dusty workshops of the sculptors and the cramped laboratories of the alchemists behind. We are traveling upward, leaving the heavy, earthbound weight of the past and reaching for the very ceiling of heaven. Imagine, if you will, walking through the massive bronze doors of Vault 19. As the doors swing open, the air changes. It becomes cool and vast, and smells of beeswax, cold incense, and ancient, damp limestone. We aren't looking at a single object tonight. We are looking at a machine of the soul. In the center of the vault, resting on a pedestal of rough granite, is a single iron compass and a worn master mason's square. These simple tools were used to build the great cathedrals of Europe, structures that didn't just house the faithful, but actually reshaped the way the human mind perceives space, light, and the infinite. Tonight, as you settle into your deepest state of relaxation, imagine the sound of a single footstep echoing and re-echoing off a ceiling that is 100 feet above your head. Feel the vertical aspiration of the stone. We are going to explore the architecture of the divine and the secret ways that Gothic geometry learned to speak to the human heart. Let us begin our meditation on the echoes of the great cathedral. 1. The Romanesque Dark, the mind as a fortress. To understand the revolution of the Gothic cathedral, we must first understand the darkness that came before it. In the 11th century, the world was a dangerous, uncertain place. Architecture reflected this fear. The churches of the Romanesque period were built like spiritual fortresses. Imagine thick, massive stone walls, sometimes 6 or 10 feet deep. The windows were tiny, mere slits in the rock, designed to keep the world out. Inside these spaces, the air was heavy. The ceilings were low and rounded, pressing down on the heads of the worshippers. The dominant feeling was one of enclosure. The human mind, shaped by these walls, felt small, fragile, and desperately in need of protection. It was a horizontal world, rooted in the soil, focused on survival. Think of the silence in a Romanesque church. It is a dense, heavy silence. It feels like being inside a mountain. As you relax, imagine that heavy stone around you. It is safe, but it is also dark. The mind cannot soar in the dark. It can only wait. But in the year 1144, the mountain began to open. The stone began to breathe. And for the first time in history, humanity stopped looking at the ground and started looking at the sky. 2. The vision of Suger, the birth of Lux Nova. The change began in a small abbey just north of Paris, the Abbey of Saint-Denis. It was led by a man named Abbot Suger, a diminutive man with a massive vision. Suger believed in a radical philosophy. He believed that God is light. To Suger, a dark church was a spiritual failure. He wanted to build a space where the walls were no longer barriers, but translucent skins. He wanted to bring heaven down to earth through the medium of glass. Imagine Suger standing in the dust of his old, crumbling abbey. He watched the master masons experiment with a new kind of engineering, the pointed arch. Unlike the round arches of the Romans, which pushed the weight of the roof outward, threatening to burst the walls, the pointed arch pushed the weight downward. This was the Big Bang of the Gothic world. Suddenly, the walls didn't need to be thick. They didn't need to be fortresses. They could be light. They could be skeletal. Suger called this Lux Nova, the new light. As you relax now, imagine the sun beginning to break through a wall of colored glass for the first time in human history. The darkness of the medieval mind is being washed away. Feel the expansion in your own chest. Your mind is no longer a fortress, it is becoming a vessel. You are opening, like the great choir of Saint-Denis. The light is not just outside you, it is becoming you. 3. The geometry of the divine, the master mason's secret. The men who built these cathedrals were not just laborers, they were geometrizers. They belonged to secret guilds, bound by oaths to protect the language of proportion. They believed that the universe was built on a mathematical code, a sacred geometry that mirrored the mind of the Creator. They used the golden ratio, the same mathematical spiral found in the heart of a sunflower, the curve of a seashell, and the proportions of the human face. Imagine the master mason standing on a vast, flat floor of white plaster, hidden away in a side chapel. This was his tracing floor. With a giant, hand-forged wooden compass, he would draw the invisible lines of the cathedral, a circle, then a square, then a triangle. These shapes were not merely decorative, they were designed to create a sense of harmony that the human brain recognizes, even if the person cannot read. When you walk into a Gothic cathedral, you don't need to be a mathematician to feel the balance. Your nervous system feels it for you. The proportions of the pillars, the distance between the arches, the height of the vaulting, all of it is tuned to the same frequency. Architecture, in this moment, became frozen music. Think of the precision of these lines now. They are invisible, but they are holding the stone together. As you breathe in and out, imagine a golden line of geometry running through your own body, from the top of your head to the soles of your feet. You are in alignment. You are part of the great design. Everything is in its right place. You are balanced, stable, and perfectly at rest. 4. Defying gravity, the wings of stone. But how do you make 1,000 tons of limestone fly? If the walls are thin and the windows are massive, the roof should collapse. To solve this, the Gothic masons invented the most famous architectural silhouette in history, the flying buttress. Imagine looking at the outside of Notre Dame or Chartres. You see these great skeletal arms of stone reaching out from the high walls and anchoring themselves deep into the earth. They look like the ribs of a giant or the wings of an angel, frozen in the act of taking flight. This was a psychological revolution for humanity. For thousands of years, the support of a building was always hidden inside the walls. In the Gothic cathedral, the support was moved to the outside. Inside, the space felt impossible. It felt like the stone was floating. The human mind, accustomed to the heavy, downward pull of gravity, was suddenly told that the sky was no longer a ceiling, but a destination. The flying buttress taught humanity that we could reach higher, that we could lean on supports we could not always see, and that the weight of the world could be managed if only it was distributed correctly. Feel the weightlessness in your own limbs now. Imagine those stone arms outside the vault, carrying your stress, carrying your worries, and pushing them down deep into the cold, silent earth. You are light. You are soaring. The ceiling of your mind is rising, foot by foot by foot. 5. The Alchemy of Glass, the Poor Man's Bible. In a world where most people could not read, the cathedral was the book. But it was a book written in luminescence. The stained glass windows were not just decorations, they were the Biblia Pauperum, the poor man's Bible. But they were something even deeper. They were a form of optical alchemy. Imagine standing in the nave of Chartres at noon. The sun hits the rose window, a massive, circular kaleidoscope of blue, red, and gold. The Chartres blue is a color that science still cannot perfectly replicate. It is a deep, oceanic sapphire that seems to vibrate in the very air you breathe. As the light passes through the glass, it changes. It is no longer ordinary sunlight. It is filtered through stories. It paints the stone floor in a sea of colors. You are walking on a carpet of light. This had a profound effect on the medieval psyche. It turned hard, cold reality into a radiant dream. It taught the human mind that the world is more than what we see, that even the most ordinary light can be transformed into something sacred. Think of those colors now, the deep, cooling blue, the warm, protective red, the bright, hopeful gold. Let the colors wash over your closed eyelids. You don't need to read the stories in the glass. You only need to feel the glow. You are being painted by the light. You are becoming part of the window. You are glowing in the dark. 6. The Stone Menagerie, Guardians of the Gutters. But the Gothic mind was not just about the light. It was also about the shadows that live on the edges of our vision. On the edges of the high roof, peering over the gutters and staring down at the streets, are the gargoyles and the grotesques. Strange, twisted creatures, part lion, part bat, part human, part nightmare. Why put monsters on a house of God? They were there for two reasons. Functionally, they were hydraulic machines, waterspouts designed to carry the rain away from the stone walls to prevent erosion. But psychologically, they were border guardians. They represented the chaos of the outside world, the fears, the temptations, and the shadow side of the human psyche. By placing them on the outside of the cathedral, the architects were telling the mind that the sacred space was safe. The monsters were kept at bay. They were frozen in stone, turned into servants of the building. Imagine those stone guardians now. They are high above you, watching over the perimeter of your sleep. They are taking all your dark thoughts, all your anxieties, and they are turning them into harmless, silent stone. They are the sentinels of your sanctuary. The interior of your mind is pure, quiet, and free of monsters. You are safe inside the stone. 7. The labyrinth, the journey to the center. On the floor of the great cathedral at Chartres, there is a secret path. It is a labyrinth, a circular pattern of dark and light stones set into the nave pavement. For centuries, pilgrims would walk this path on their knees. It is not a maze. You cannot get lost in a labyrinth. There is only one path, winding in and winding out. This was a symbolic pilgrimage. For those who could not travel to Jerusalem, the labyrinth was the journey to the center of the self. It was a physical way of praying. Imagine yourself walking that path now, step by step, rounding the corners, moving toward the center, then turning away, then moving closer again. It is a rhythmic, hypnotic movement. It teaches the mind patience. It teaches us that the path to peace is never a straight line, but a series of turns that always lead home. Feel the cool, smooth stone beneath your feet. The echoes of the cathedral are all around you, but the path is quiet. You are moving closer to your own center. With every turn, you are letting go of the outside world. You are winding your way into a deep, peaceful, and eternal rest. The walk is almost over. The center is waiting. 8. The secret language, the mark of the mason. As we walk deeper into the vault, past the tracing floors and the stained glass, we come to the men who lived in the dust, the free masons. In the Middle Ages, most people were bound to the land. They were serfs, born and buried in the same village. But the masons were different. They were free. They had the right to travel across borders, from the quarries of Normandy to the building sites of England and Germany. They were the technocrats of the medieval world. To protect their trade, they developed a secret language, not just words, but grips and signs that allowed a master to recognize another master in a crowded marketplace. But their true language was written on the stones themselves. If you look closely at the pillars of any great cathedral, you will find them. Small etched symbols, a star, a fish, a geometric cross. These are the mason's marks. Each one is a signature. Imagine a mason named Jean or Thomas standing in the cold morning light 800 years ago. He has just finished carving a stone that will sit 100 feet in the air, where no human eye will ever see it. Yet, he carves his mark into the base. Why? Because he wasn't building for humans, he was building for the eye of God. Think of that dedication, doing your best work in the dark, doing your best work where it will be forgotten by history, but remembered by the stone. As you relax, think of the mark you leave on your own life. You don't need the world to see your progress. The stone knows. The work is its own reward. Feel the steady, quiet pride of the craftsman. You are building something lasting, even in the silence. 9. the acoustic soul, the reverb of the infinite. The Gothic Cathedral didn't just change the way we see, it changed the way we hear. Before the great vaults, music was simple. It was monophonic, one voice singing one line. But the cathedral had a reverberation time of 5 to 7 seconds. If you sang a note, that note would stay in the air, floating, while you sang the next note. The architecture actually forced humanity to invent polyphony, the art of many voices singing different melodies at once. The stone was a musical instrument. The vaults would take a human voice and divinize it. It made the singer sound like an angel, and it made the listener feel like they were standing at the edge of the universe. Imagine a single monk singing in the choir stalls. His voice rises, hits the limestone vaulting, and bounces back, enriched, layered, and eternal. The human ear began to crave this complexity. We began to understand harmony as a physical space. Listen to the inner silence of your own mind now. It is vast, like a cathedral. Every thought you have is a note. Let them float. Don't try to catch them. Let them echo and fade into the high, dark corners of your imagination. The space is large enough for everything. You are the singer, and you are the stone. 10. The vertical aspiration, the awe response. Why did the cathedrals have to be so tall? Why push the stone to the very breaking point of physics? Psychologists today call it the awe response. When the human eye is forced to look upward, the brain undergoes a chemical shift. The prefrontal cortex, the part of you that worries about taxes and food and the opinions of others, suddenly goes quiet. When you look at a vaulting that is 150 feet high, your ego shrinks. You become small, but in a beautiful way. You feel connected to something much larger than yourself. The architects called this vertical aspiration. The building was a ladder for the eyes. The Gothic mind was trained to move upward, from the dirt of the street to the stone of the floor, to the glass of the windows, to the light of the vaults. Feel that upward pull in your own spirit now. Imagine your breath rising higher and higher toward the peak of a stone arch. You are leaving the small self behind. You are expanding into the great space. There is no pressure here. There is only room to breathe. The height is not frightening. It is liberating. You are as tall as the cathedral. You are as vast as the sky. 11. The clock and the bell, creating modern time. Before the cathedral, time was a circular thing. You woke with the sun. You worked until it rained. You slept when it was dark. But the cathedral changed the rhythm of the human day. High in the towers, the great bronze bells were hung. These bells were the heartbeat of the city. They rang for the canonical hours, matins, vespers, compline. For the first time, an entire population was synchronized. Then came the clocks. Massive mechanical toys made of iron gears placed in the towers to tell the bells when to ring. The cathedral taught humanity that time could be measured, that it was a precious, linear resource. It turned the city into a single, rhythmic organism. Think of those bells now. They are far away, muffled by the thick stone walls. Bong, bong, bong. They are not calling you to work. They are calling you to rest. They are marking the end of the day. Every strike of the bell is a reminder that the world is in order. The great clock of the universe is ticking, steadily and safely. You don't need to watch the time. The cathedral is watching it for you. 12. The forest of stone, the pillar of life. If you close your eyes in the center of the nave, you might forget you are in a building. You might think you are in a forest. The pillars of a Gothic cathedral are not like Greek columns. They are bundled. They look like the trunks of giant trees, with ribs that branch out at the top to form a canopy of stone. This was intentional. The architects were recreating the sacred groves of the ancient world. They wanted the mind to feel the organic peace of nature, but protected from the elements. The stone was alive. It was growing. Imagine yourself leaning against one of these stone trunks. It is cool and solid and ancient. It has stood here for 800 years. It has seen wars, plagues, and the changing of empires, and it has not moved an inch. Let that stone's stability enter your own bones. You are a pillar. You are strong. You are rooted deep in the earth, but your thoughts are branching out, soft and green, into the high, quiet air. You are a forest of one. 13. The resurrection of the Gothic, the modern echo. We often think of the Gothic era as a distant memory, but its echoes are everywhere. In the 19th century, during the Neo-Gothic revival, humanity returned to the pointed arch once again. We built our universities, our parliaments, and our skyscrapers in the image of the cathedral. Why? Because we never lost the hunger for the infinite. Even in our digital age, we look for the Gothic in our stories, our movies, and our dreams. We are still looking for a space that is bigger than our problems. We are still looking for the new light. The cathedral didn't just shape the medieval mind, it created the modern mind. It taught us how to dream in 3 dimensions. It taught us that we could take the dirt beneath our feet and turn it into a ladder to the stars. As you prepare for the final surrender into sleep, look at your own inner architecture. You have built something beautiful in this life. You have windows of light and foundations of stone. You are a living temple. 14. The final reverb, a meditation on peace. It is time to leave Vault 19. We walk back toward the great bronze doors. The Chartres blue light is fading as the sun sets behind the hills. The gargoyles are settling into the shadows. The bells have rung their final note for the night. The flying buttresses are holding the sky, so you don't have to. The labyrinth has led you to the center, and the center is quiet. Everything is sacred tonight. The air, the stone, the silence, and your breath. There is no more geometry to solve. There are no more weights to distribute. The building is finished. the work is done. As you feel the heavy, velvet weight of your blankets, imagine the vaulting above you turning into a canopy of stars. You are safe. You are held. You are an echo that has finally found its home. And so, dear friends, we leave the great cathedral and return to the world of the present. We carry the Lux Nova within us, the bundled pillars, the rose windows, and the silent, rhythmic pulse of the stone. The cathedral has taught us that we are greater than we know. It has shown us that even in the dark, we can build toward the light. As you drift off, feel the stone's stability surrounding you. You are part of a long, beautiful, and eternal design. Sleep well, dear friends, and find rest in the heart of the infinite vault. Good night.